Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to talk about the newest method available to us in modern JavaScript that is used for asynchronous programming. Now in this lecture we're actually going to talk about the async await function, and the async await is a function declared with the async keyword literally. And the await keyword is going to be permitted within that function. We cannot use the await keyword outside of an async function. It has to be within it. Now, the async await keywords, they allow us to actually grab data asynchronously. And under the hood, an async await function, it implements a promise-based behavior. But it allows us to write like cleaner code, and you're going to see that in like a couple of seconds. Let's take a look at what we want to do from here. Let's say we want to grab the users, and I'm going to grab this, and you can see we got a little bit more data, which is very good, zip code, city, whatever. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to come back here. So I'm going to create a regular function that is going to be get users. Cool. And within here, let's say we want to get the users. So I'm going to say const users, and it's going to be, we are going to fetch it from this URL. Now, so far, this is not an async await function because we don't have any async and await keywords. So if you want to convert this function to an asynchronous function, at the start of the function, you're going to say async. That is one keyword. And when you save this, this is not going to return anything for you because we are not awaiting this function. Now, asynchronous code, it involves waiting for like a little bit of time. So that's why before fetching the data, we are going to say await. Cool. So far, everything is cool. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to console log this user so you can see what is actually happening here. Get users, and already you can see this is a much better syntax. And when I come into the console, you can see we got the response, and you are familiar with this. And when we said, okay, .then, that's when we actually got the response. Now, the response comes after we initiated a .then method onto our fetch method in our promises lecture. Right here in this promises lecture. When we said .then, this was when we actually got this response. Now, again, async await function under the hood, they actually implement promises. So the way that we handle that response in promises, we can handle that in the same way with our async await. Why do we use async await? Because it's so much cleaner. It provides us with so much cleaner and simpler syntax than promises and chaining promises. And promise chain is basically this. So you can see we got this .then, and we got another .then, and we could have another one, and then we could have another one. That's going to be a promise chain for us. But we can never have that with our async await function. Now we got the response. We know that we need to convert the response into a JSON object. So I'm going to say const response is going to be equal to, we have our users, which contains the response, and I'm going to convert it into a JSON. And I'm going to keep the users, and I'm going to basically take a look at the response in the console as well. And what did we get? We get a promise. So now you are sure that async await under the hood, it returns a promise. But this line also returns another promise. So let me get rid of the await keyword. And when I save it, you can see in promise, temporary JSON is not a function. Let me just comment this one out, comment this one out. And when I save it, you can see we got a promise. So if you want to resolve a promise, and you can see it says pending. So we are going to say await. It's going to get rid of that promise. It's going to convert it into a response. And when we say await on the response, it's going to give us that JSON file. Save that, take a look at it, and we got our 10 users. I'm going to comment this line out, save it. There we go. We got our 10 users. Now, afterwards, whatever you want to do, it's basically up to you. What do you want to do with this response? So first, you need to always understand what kind of data you have received from the server. So we got an address object, a company object, and then we have some key values. This is email, ID, name, phone, and then username, and then website. We can actually work off these, and we could create like a project based on all of these 10 users. We could create a project on them. So what I'm going to do is, from the response, if I just say, now keep in mind, if I just say the name and when I save it, it's not going to work. Why? Let me go back and show that to you. Because as you can see, this is an array. And to be able to get the item from an array, we need to iterate through that array. So I'm going to get rid of these two console logs. And we know the response, it returns to us an array. So we can say for const entry of a response, let's take a look at our every individual entry, console.log entry. And when I save it, there we go. We got 10 entries. And now within this entry, I could say .name. This is going to give me all the names. What else do we have right here? I'm going to zoom this in. So we got the name. We could get the email as well. I'm just going to do all of them right here. This is going to give us the emails, everyone's email. We also have the address that is actually an object. And then there is another nested object there for latitude and longitude. We have the phone number, the website, the company, and the company name. So we could say someone, for example, console.log, let's use our backticks. So we could say this person, entry dot name. Okay, let me just we are basically making sense of the data. This person is currently working at the company. Now I want to grab the company. The company is an object. So the way that I can grab that would be company, not comment, company dot name. This is going to give me this one. And let's just print the email address as well. So this person is currently working at this company, and their email is entry. It should have been like user. I think that is better. I'm going to fix it in email. And yes, it is going to give us this email address. And I'm going to change this entry to... Now, I did make a mistake. I should say entry.company.name. And then that is going to work for us. There we go. And I'm going to grab all the entries and I'm going to convert them to user. So console log username is currently working at this company, and their email address is this. Cool. And let's take a look at it. There we go. So we got Leon Graham is currently working at this company. Let me add the company keyword and maybe like surrounded in quotes, since this is the company name, is working at this company, and their email address is, we could surround this in quotes as well. There we go. So this is how we can work with asynchronous programming, and now you have some sense of how to use the return data from the server in a sensical manner. And you can basically convert this into, for example, a UL or list of items for your website. You know what? I could perhaps show you how you could do that. And for that, what I would like to do is, first, I'm going to get rid of this console log. And now, let's say you want to create a list of all of these employees, all of these users that you have selected, and you might say, okay, I want to mock creating an application that has a list of employees, something like that. Now, for that to work, is we are within the for of loop, and any code that we write here is going to be executed for as many times as there are users, as the number of users there are within the returned object. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to create an li element. I'm going to say const employees. First, let's grab the actual employees. And I think this is going to be on one line. This is going to be an li. Let me first create the element. Now within the element, I want to grab the name of the employees. And we know how we can do that. We are going to use our template strings. And within here, I'm going to say user dot name. And this is going to give me the name. And this is not going to give me the first name or the last name, but all of them, because we are within the for of loop. And I'm going to say name. Cool stuff. So far, okay. Let's save that. Let's actually console. Let's log it to the console. Console.log. And I'm going to say employees. And when I save it, as soon as I save it, you can see we got that li, the structure of an HTML element. And everything is basically in an li, all these names. Now that that part is done, we need to append these to a UL. How would we do that? First off, let's create the UL. Since within the HTML, if I take a look at the HTML, within the HTML, we don't have anything. Let's say you want to create that element dynamically. How would you do that? Now within here, I'm going to say const employees list. This is going to be the list of employees. I'm going to grab the document object. And on the document object, there is actually a method called create element. And this is going to create elements for us. Now, the way that this works is within the strings, you just have to write the name of the element that you want to create. So you can see these are all HTML elements. And from all of them, what do I want to select? I want to select a UL. There we go. So it just created an HTML element for us. And we can take a look at that in the browser console as well. Employees list, console logit. There we go. So this is an empty UL. Next step is to put all of these LIs within this UL. Now keep in mind, the reason that I created UL outside of the for loop is because I want the UL to be repeated once. If it is inside the for loop, it is going to be repeated for every individual employee. So I have 10 employees, I'm going to have 10 ULs, and within each UL, I'm going to have one employee, or maybe like 10 employees within every UL. So that is definitely not something that I want. So I've created this UL and I want to append all of these employees there. Now, we did talk about scope. What is the scope of this employees list? Since this is a const and we are within a function, the scope of this employees list is limited to this scope of the getUsers function. Now, anything that is within the getUsers function, any other scope, can access this employees list. And we know that if we use const or let, they are going to convert a pair of curly braces into a block scope. Since this is another scope, and since this nested scope is different than this enclosing scope, within the nested scope, within this one, we can access all these variables the way that we access this response from the outer scope. Within the nested scope, we can access any variable from the outer scope if the outer scope is the enclosing scope. I hope you're not getting confused. So this employees list is available for us within this for loop. So this is what I meant. I'm going to console log it, and I'm going to say employees list. And when I save it, so you can see we got 10 UL. Let's say you have 100 employees. You're going to end up with 100 ULs. This is not good markup, and this is not what we want. Now I want to grab these employees and I want to put them within the employees list. So I'm going to say employees list dot inner HTML. Keep in mind, not inner text, not anything else, but inner HTML. And I'm going to pass in the employee here, the employees object that we created. And when I save it, let's take a look at what it is that's going to happen. Now, I'm not going to take a look at the employees list within this for loop. I'm going to go outside of it, and then I'm going to log it. Console.log, and it's going to be employees list. And as soon as I save it, let's take a look at it and let's see what's there. You're going to get only one employee. You're just going to get one employee. And that employee is going to be the last employee. And I'm going to give you 3 seconds to pause the video and to really understand why did we get the last employee. Let's take a look at it. And you can see this Clementina Dubuque is the last employee. How do I know this is the last employee? Because I know how this for loop works. Because all the previous or preceding, I told you that I'm going to give you 3 seconds. So now here is your spoiler alert, 3 seconds, pause the video, think about it. And after 3 seconds, hit the play button and I'm going to tell you why we got this employee and why didn't we get all of them? All right, I'm sure you arrived at the correct conclusion. Now, the reason that this is the last employee and the reason that I'm saying that this is the last employee is because all of the preceding employees, they were overwritten by this one. Because we are not adding on LIs, we are not using the increment addition operator, we are just using the assignment operator. I mean, this assignment operator, it definitely looks something very simple, right? It's very rudimentary, it's very simple, and it is very easy for you to actually ignore what it does. And it is very, very important in JavaScript. Everything you do is based on this assignment operator. And this assignment operator, if you don't know how it works, you're going to get this kind of. And this is going to be one of the issues that is going to make you pull your hair out. Because you're saying, okay, I'm within the for loop, I'm repeating these 10 times or as many times as the number of employees or users. Why do I get only one? Because you're reassigning this inner HTML over and over and over. You're not saying, okay, give me the first li and then keep the first li and then give me the second one. And then keep the first and the second and then give me the third one. If you want to do that, you can't use the assignment operator. Assignment operator is reassigning that employee again and again and again. So what kind of operator you should use? That is the increment assignment. So you say, give me the first name and then give me the second name. But don't remove the first one or don't replace the first one with the second. Just keep the first one, add the third one, add the second one, then add the third one, add the fourth one, and that's where this assignment operator comes in. Now, I told you that I'm going to show you that this is in fact the last name. And if I come towards the bottom of this, take a look at the name. What is this? So this is the final user in our data. What is the name? Clementina Dubuque. This is the name. So all of the preceding users, they were overwritten by this user because that's what assignment operator does. And as soon as I add this incremental assignment operator, it's going to keep the previous one, and it's going to add the new one, and then a new one, and then a new one for as long as this loop runs. And how many times does it run? As many users as we have. How many users we have? We have 10. So the loop is going to run 10 times, and the increment assignment operator is going to add 10 employees. And as soon as I add it and take a look at it, voila. There we go. And you can see Clementina down below. Now this is valid HTML, but we can't see it in the browser. You can see there is nothing in the browser. So we need to somehow put this within the body. You can see there is no element right here. So I'm going to append it to the body element. And that's how it's going to work. So again, I'm going to get out of this for loop because I don't want to append it 10 times. I want to append it only once. That's why I'm going to get out of there. So now that you understand this console log, let's get rid of it and let's say document.body.append child. Let's append a child to it. And what is that child? It is this employees list. And as soon as I save it and come here, there we go. So this is your very first live application, which is actually talking to a server. And it looks very simple, but it is a very sophisticated application. We can come in here, we can take a look at the body. There is our UL, and here are the LIs. And in case you're wondering how you can style this, you can basically create a style.css file, or in the head part, if you don't have a lot of styles, you can say li list style none, and it's going to basically get rid of the list styles. You can grab the body element. You can say font family, Arial. It's going to convert it into Arial. And you can say line height, 1.6 times the size of the font for the root element. And you can also like put it in the center and do whatever you want basically with this. You can say font size 15 pixel. Oh, it just got smaller. There we go. It's a lot bigger. Let's add a margin block. This is going to add margin on top and bottom of 15 pixels. There we go. A little bit spaced apart. And we could add some padding all around. Let's say 15 pixel top and bottom, 30 pixel left and right. And then we could say background color, light, slate, gray. Light, slate, gray. Save that. There we go. We could also change the color to white. So this is what you get. I think we should get rid of the margin. I don't think that looks awesome. And there we go. These are all. We could add a little bit less margin, maybe like 5 pixel, just a little bit of space there. And if I just increase the width of the screen, this is our application. The reason that it stretches so far is because it's like a block level element. And we got name, this one, this one, this one. So these are all our employees. And if you want to like style them differently, you would use a flex or grid. For these simple ones, I prefer to use flex. It's a lot easier. There we go. This is what we got. And we could say gap. Let's add 10 pixel, not 110, but just 10. Let's save that. Let's take a look at it. Why does it seem like it is like zoomed in? It is not zoomed in. I feel like it's zoomed in. And I'm going to say flex wrap. Let's set it to wrap. And I'm not going to waste your time anymore. I could style it forever, but I'm not. There we go. And we could say on all the LIs, flex grow of 1. And then they're going to grow their entire space. So this is what we're going to end up with. And that's it. I went a little bit crazy with this. And here is the styles. You can just put all of this in their own CSS. I'm going to get rid of all of them, comment them out, and I'm going to keep them there. There we go. So this is an application that is currently talking. And now you have a sense, okay, when I grab data from the server, how I can create HTML elements, how I can put that data within HTML elements, and how I can use it. Now, this is going to be a very interesting experience for you. There is a website called API Layer. I believe it is called API Layer. Yeah. And from that website, what you could do is you could select, I'm going to open it in this other screen because it takes a little bit of time. There is a lot of free APIs that you can work with, and there is going to be some sort of data that is going to be returned to you. And when you inspect it in the console, you're going to know, just try to convert it into something manageable by JavaScript, an array of objects, an object, whatever. So that in that way, you're going to be using something that you're already familiar with. So this API layer, you can actually, on this one, you can actually create APIs with, for example, Node.js, and you can sell it as well. You can earn money with that, but I don't want to get into that. You can use APIs from here as well, this API marketplace. I am sure there are a lot of free APIs that you can use them, but they're going to be limited. Keep that in mind. So you have the Rundown API, Spotify API, Tax Data, ZenSerp to scrape search engine result pages in real time. And these are actually real world skills. And if you want to get a job as a front-end developer, it's going to be very, very important for you to be able to interact with these APIs and what kind of data they're returning. It's usually where the structure is going to be REST and the data they return is going to be JSON. Usually it's going to be JSON. And if you want to become a backend developer, it's going to be very important for you to be able to create these REST APIs. So for a backend developer, this REST API is very important. And for a front-end developer, this entire API is very important. So how you can take a look at it, how you can dissect it, how you can use it in your application. And you can see here it is. This is, of course, they require an API key. For that, you need to sign up for this website. You need to generate your own API key. An API key is like that password for that specific API that you have received. And then you should not share that API key with anyone. It has to be like a private thing. Now, and if you want to learn more about these kind of stuff, so you can see that here is the free plan, no credit cards required. I'm not affiliated with this, although I wish I was, but I'm not. 100 requests daily, 100 requests monthly. So here is the plan, free. You need to create it, and then you need to create your API key, and then you can basically send a GET request to this address. And it also has headers, which you need to specify, and then this is going to be the example response. And then you can use this example response in your application. This is the tax data API, so all the information is based on taxes. VAT number, value added tax number, name, it's from Germany, format, and the country code AT. I think it's GmbH is Germany, I think. So it's address, yeah, definitely Germany. And this is basically how you can, this is one place that you can find more information about how you can use API. And in case you're not familiar with how to use the API, make sure to understand, to read the API documentation. It's very simple. I mean, when you get a job, you will have to work with the documentation at some point in your career. So it's better to start early so you can decipher what the documentation actually says. You need to get very, very used to going to the documentation and solving the problems for yourself. There we go. Here is the documentation. Just grab this, put it. Now this, you can see it .then. This is a promise-based response. You can convert it easily. And you need to include the request options. You need to include the headers. Keep that in mind. The reason that our JSON placeholder API didn't have this is because it was free. It was for you to get started. But there is actually a lot more to APIs than just what we did. So you can just specify all of these and grab this, and it's going to work. You can use it in your application, the same application that we built right here. You can use this kind of application, and it's a real-world skill. And very, very helpful for you. So get price, rate list, tax rates. Make sure to play around with these, the kind of errors that you get. And it's amazing what you can do with this API layer. It's a very, very, very good resource for learning how to work with asynchronous programming. Now, this is not a simple to-do application. This is something that is sought out by actual employers. You will be working with APIs on a daily basis. And as a front-end developer, and you will be working with APIs and using them in your applications on a daily basis. Trust me. So it's very good to get started with these APIs, especially with this website API layer. And I think I just talked too much, and how can I go back? It's a little bit slow. I don't know why. There's a lot of APIs. Make sure to check them all out. That's going to be it for this video. See you in the next one.